No mai, haere mai, and welcome to Cult Chat, the show where we talk about coercion, control, and all things cultish. I'm Dr. Caroline Ansley. I'm a medical doctor. When I was a child, I lived at the Centrepoint community, a notorious cult in New Zealand, and now I co-lead the Cult Informed Professional Network.
And I'm Liz Gregory, and I lead the Gloriavale Leavers Support Trust. We've been helping people exit Gloriavale for over a decade, and it's such a privilege to journey with them as they rebuild their new lives.
And I'm Lindy Jacob. I'm a former member of the Exclusive Brethren, and I lead the Olive Leaf Network, a charitable entity that supports leavers of high-demand religious groups.
Come with us as we unpack the cult playbook. We'll be talking to experts and leavers of coercively controlling groups, and we will call for Kiwis to cult-proof their lives.
Join us as we traverse the cultiverse.
A warning, this podcast contains references to subjects and discussions which may be difficult for some people to hear. Please take care of yourselves and your whānau when listening. Leaving a high-demand religious group can be life-changing and deeply challenging. You may feel lost, alone, or unsure where to turn. At the Olive Leaf Network, we understand. We connect people leaving controlling or high-demand religious groups with support, community, and practical help right here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. You don't have to do this alone. Visit oliveleaf.network. That's oliveleaf.network and take your first step towards recovery and freedom, or to find ways to support our work.
Welcome to Cult Chat. Today is a really fun interview that we're having with a friendly Norwegian, Jonas Skogstroll, who's coming all the way from Norway to talk to us about his visit to New Zealand, which is coming soon. So we're going to learn more about why he's coming to New Zealand and about his really very different life in Norway as a goat farmer and a comedian and a former JW. So I'm really interested to hear your story, Jonas. Welcome to Cult Chat.
Thank you.
Welcome. I'm interested in your name. How do you pronounce your last name?
Skogstroll. It means forest troll. I'm not related to Forrest Gump, but forest troll. And when you leave a cult like the Jehovah Witnesses, it's your whole identity. You know, if someone would ask me, who are you? I would say Jehovah's Witness. So when you leave, and especially for us, you know, we have hard shunning the Jehovah Witnesses. My family don't want anything to do with me. At one point, you just have to, I actually sent the RIP to my mother, you know, rest in peace while she's still alive. You just have to move on from them. And so I changed my name. So I have my new family, my new identity. And Skogstroll means woodland troll, like I said. And Jehovah Witnesses are afraid of trolls. So it's a perfect name for me. They're also afraid of Smurfs.
Oh my gosh, I love that surname. That's fantastic.
I got a little daughter, so now we're two officially woodland trolls in Norway. I started my own species.
Oh, talking about species, I think you've got a light on your head. Do you like goat farming? I've been doing a little bit of research on you and watching some of your clips, and Jonas, the Norwegian goat farmer, I found that to be quite fantastic.
I started actually, it was my dream when I was a kid. I had a lot of dreams, and one of them was to be a goat farmer in Norway. I'm a national Swede. And, you know, they said, you can do all those things in paradise. Now, on this life, you should do everything to benefit the cult leaders, Watchtower. But somehow I managed to do everything I wanted. I wanted to be, as a kid, I wanted to be a Norwegian goat farmer. I wanted to speak 5 languages. I wanted to be a sheet metal worker, a window cleaner, and a stand-up comedian. And I became everything, even though I was in a cult. The only thing I did after leaving the cult was stand-up.
Oh, how fascinating. Are you allowed to be a stand-up comedian and a JW at the same time, or did you do that after leaving because you weren't allowed to do it while you were a JW?
Well, there's a lot of mental blockages also, but, go walking up on stage, you're afraid of the people from Satan's system. We call them worldly. Some people have careers as Jehovah Witnesses, but that's very uncommon and frowned upon. But if they push through and have it anyway, then the Jehovah Witnesses will be proud of them and say, oh, look at Serena Williams, she's a Jehovah Witness. But I don't know how she's getting away with the things she do. And Michael Jackson was also Jehovah Witness, and he had to, the song Thriller. He was publicly rebuked for that, and he had to buy back the rights to that song from his own pocket after he sold it, and tried to kind of cancel his own music due to dictates from the organization.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea about that. Did you guys have any idea about that? That's fascinating. But I do understand what you're talking about, because in terms of some people managing to get away with some things inside culty groups, and then somehow being allowed to do it, or then even praised for it, whereas actually 95% of everybody else is not allowed to do that kind of thing. There's just been a very similar thing being publicized with the Exclusive Brethren, where there's one woman who owns a business, and it's a business, well, she owns it with her husband, but it's a business that provides like an online administrative support to other Brethren businesses. But they have suddenly done a big PR spin with her, saying, look at this wonderful woman, she owns a business, and look how free our women are, and they're allowed to pursue their own careers. But she's like literally the only one around the world that we can find about who is running a business. And yet there they are using her for their PR to say, oh, you're so wonderful. Are you saying that kind of thing is there in the JWs, that some people, a small number, can do things and others can't?
Yeah, some people just push through, like Serena Williams. She posts, I don't know, but I think she posts like almost naked in magazines and stuff like that. And you're not supposed to seek a high position for yourself. You're not allowed to think positive about yourself. I remember one article that says you should not be proud, you should not be proud, you should assume your shit, and he said, but is there not anything you can be proud of? Well, you can be proud that you are allowed to be a Jehovah Witness. So all the positive thoughts about yourself are connected to the cult, which makes it so hard to leave, because I hate myself, but I love the fact that I'm a cult member. That's the only thing about me that's good. So
that is so true.
It makes it very difficult to do something.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of Gloria Vale. That's the big cult in New Zealand with the blue long dresses. So
yes, I've seen them. I'm a big fan. I'm thinking about joining when I go there.
Yes, well, in Gloria Vale, they have those sorts of same issues too. A lot of lack of self-worth. But something that they do have, and it's really noticeable, is comedy. And the people who leave are just some of the most brilliant, quick-witted, intelligent comedians that I've met. But they tell me that it was like a survival tactic. Can you talk to me whether that is part of your makeup and being?
No, I think what I notice with cults is that the first cult leader, or the first two, their personality is trapped in the cult for a long time further. So I would guess that the first guy or the second guy that started Gloria Vale, probably the second guy, had a good sense of humor. And it becomes accepted. Like the guy who started Jehovah Witnesses was a guy who had a printing company.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Watchtower
and
magazine.
Then he came and he was printing literature, and he came up with this doctrine that all true Christians must sell my product. But they got some. But then the second guy, he took it further and said, "You die in Armageddon if you don't sell our product," and turn it into a cult printing company. So they always made their money from printing. But the first guy, he was a naive. He was the son of a millionaire. He was rich in the 1800s. So he thought money is from God. Money's always been there as long as I can remember. So he had this idea that we will not ask so much for donations. And that's always been Jehovah Witnesses' thing. But that's also because they had a printing company and were selling a product and never paid any taxes, really. So, but the second guy, he was a heavy drinker. And that's always been after him, it's been an established fact that Jehovah Witnesses, we sell a product, we don't ask so much for donations up until now, and we're heavy drinkers behind closed doors. If you look at the Amish,
Gosh, I didn't know
yeah.
that either. That is fascinating because that's also
we drank, like I remember when I was on the Jehovah Witness headquarters in Russia, and like they are very well organized. They call themselves God's organization. It's incredibly well organized organization. Yeah. So when we came to the headquarters in Russia, was 600 people working there. That's just the headquarters. So it's not like a cult village. It's a headquarters.
Are you talking like a Bethelite community or
yeah,
the
Bethelites, yeah. In Russia. But I remember them when they showed us around, and they have rules for, and that's a good thing. It's well organized, and they also had a good focus on safety because we were building the place. So helmet, all the security, very good focus on that. But I'll praise them for that. But they also said always, like, when you leave your trash here, your laundry here, and then they always say, leave the bottles outside the trash can. Like that was a big thing. And then it was another thing. They say, we have a rule for this, we have a rule for that, we have a rule for this, but you can do whatever you want in your room. We have a rule for this, we have a rule for that, but you can do whatever you want in the room. And then after being there a while, I realized what people did. They worked all day. You have the facade. You were smiling, the big, great Jehovah Witness smile, talking about the blessings from Jehovah, being here, working for free with the brethren. But then in the evening, we would drink in the room. And I remember I only did it like once, but we went all out and bought ourselves one bottle of vodka each. And then we were playing cards, and I finished a bottle of vodka by myself, and they finished their bottle of vodka, and then we put them next to the trash. And then I started to realize why this bottle thing was so important. And they had those cleaning carts, the cleaning ladies, it's always ladies, driving around to clean the rooms. They had a small thing so they could empty the trash, and then this big wooden thing where they put empty bottles. And they had this depression on their faces, those sisters, because they joined the cult and they were invited for the great privilege of working in the headquarters, and they were taking out vodka bottles in these wooden crates, and they were told to not make any clinking sound because that would be, a bad witness. And you could see the depression, and then the Swedish and the Scandinavians, we call it the truth. We've been in the truth for generations.
You too.
So we were kind of accepted the drinking as part of what we do behind closed doors. So we were actually making fun of them. Look at the Russian sisters are depressed because they didn't expect this much drinking. And I remember it started feeling wrong. Something's wrong here. I can't really put a finger out, but we're laughing at people for being depressed. Yeah. So we do a lot of drinking. But again, the Amish guy started the Amish. What do you think what his profession were? You can guess it if you think about it. He was a tailor.
Oh, so of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Gloria Vale, you probably had one guy in the beginning that was a great joker and made it acceptable. There's always the first guy put his personality on the culture, and then he dies and wander off.
Definitely that. But I feel like with the Gloriavale ones, I don't think he had a huge sense of humor, but he certainly had skills in particular areas, like with small businesses and engineering, and coming up with unique and bespoke ways to, like gas production. He was very entrepreneurial in that sense, and that absolutely imprinted itself on the working culture that then became a forced working culture. But I feel like it's some of the other family streams came in with good senses of humor, found themselves quite depressed, and as a survival mechanism used humor to sort of keep themselves alive, maybe within their family units. They've often said to us it was a way of just surviving, being able to have an in-house joke at things that were even happening at Gloriavale.
But as a comedian, then I just get curious, because every culture have a rule for what you can joke about and what you cannot joke about, and those rules change. But it also is about when. Like in Japan, they have humor schools where you can go and learn humor. And when you're in school and you're writing jokes and you're performing jokes, no one's laughing because this is school. So in Japan, they have this rule about where you can laugh. So you can literally be in a school for humor and no one's laughing because this is work. And then they go out in the evening and do the same jokes and laugh. So what were the rules about Gloria Vale, what you can joke? Because I guess you cannot joke about the authority of the leader.
Yeah, no, you'd find yourself ousted. So it was all very serious when it came to having a religious veneer and making things, everything proper. And no, there wasn't. But then they would have a concert every second year. They would have put on the most spectacular concert for other people in the public to come. It was sort of like their image, their presentation. They were trying to show people that they were amazing, and they made the most incredible costumes, musical talent galore. They would have their comedians come and do fantastic acts. And so under this, and they would run these concert seasons for 6 weeks, and they would have 6 or 7 concerts a week. And this is parents like being separated from their kids because these concerts would go all evening. I mean, really, people were quite exhausted at the end of it, but it was like it was just like a show, like cults like to have a show. But yeah, we went to one. We're not invited back.
It's like a recruitment tool then, basically.
It was kind of like that. It kind of failed in that respect, but it was certainly them trying to show their local community that there's nothing to worry about here. We're all very happy. We love our life. Life is grand. And really, we know what was going on behind the scenes.
So how did you end up in comedy, Jonas?
Well, I always wanted to be a stand-up comedian, but ADHD kid, I had a lot of things that I wanted to do. And I remember I said when I was a kid, I want to be a stand-up comedian, and they say, no, you can't, because they talk about sex, and that's it. But then I noticed, the healing trauma from leaving a cult. Humor is a great tool. That's how I healed myself, just laughing at it, because it is ridiculous, Jehovah Witnesses, we believe that Smurfs are not a plastic toy. It's a demon that was thrown down from heaven by Jesus in 1914 to infiltrate the Jehovah Witness community from within and destroy families. That's what we believe about Smurfs. It's funny. When I was a kid, it was traumatizing. When I told my mother as a kid that I thought there would be monsters under my bed, she said, there's no monsters under your bed, but there might be demons in your toys, and demons will wake up in the middle of the night and rape you.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't add that at that point, but we'll learn that at the meeting. So I was lying under my blanket, praying to God, promising that I would be a good Jehovah Witness and sell a lot of his products so he would protect me from my toys so they wouldn't rape me. That's a severe trauma, but it's also funny.
It's ridiculous.
It's funny.
It's ridiculous.
There's an element of funny there. You just have to be able to tell it so everyone's laughing with the Jehovah Witness cult survivors and not at them. And that's a challenge, because it's such a weird place to be in a cult and try to make other. But I use the Smurf as an example because when we had this Doomsday comedy cult Doomsday comedy in London, we had a mixed audience of cult survivors, ex-Jehovah Witnesses, and worldly people, and people from the world of Satan, as non-witnesses, still call them worldly. And when the worldly people started, when I told the joke, so the worldly people were laughing at the Smurfs and the witnesses together. That is the biggest and most genuine and my favorite laughter of my career. When the worldly people were laughing at the Smurfs and the witnesses that previously had been traumatized were also just laughing. It was the greatest laughter of my life. But it's a challenge.
Yeah, because how soon is too soon? Like to joke about some item, like how soon is too soon? You can laugh about it now because you're an adult and you've left, but it's there must be topics that you think are just a bit too raw for cult survivors, or do you tackle them all?
The thing is, sometimes people go and say you can't joke about everything. The thing is, when you go to a place that's called comedy club, there's an implied consent. If Norway or New Zealand is a land with sexual freedom, and I go to a place called Swingers Club, I can't really go there and be offended. And I can't go there and pick up my camera, start taking pictures, and then go home and blog about it and say, I was really offended, and now I want you to be offended. Please look at these pictures. Because the people that go to a comedy club have consent. It's an implied consent. So if I go up there and joke about something really, really terrible that happened and you don't find it funny, you just know I consented to be here. This was not what I wanted to, but I can leave, worst case scenario. But comedy is different rules, you know. It's when we have freedom of speech in the country, and there's a special club called Comedy Club.
Yes.
That's the place where you can go all the way. You not necessarily you should, but a good comedian can laugh about anything. However, I'm not that good of a comedian yet.
I think it must be a real challenge to, as you said, to like create jokes that are funny for the ex-JW community or ex-cult community, because that is kind of niche. And like I definitely hanging out with other former cult members, there is some humor that, yeah, is unique to us, but it is quite clever if, as you say, you know, your example of the Smurfs, where you can get the worldlies. I love that you use that term, by the way, because in the Exclusive Brethren, we called them worldlies as well. So yeah, that is quite a talent to be able to get the worldlies and the ex-cult members to laugh at the same time. That's really talented. Do you think as well that because the ex-JWs, you know, have some overlap with general Christian themes, that there's some kind of points of connection with some of a wider audience, particularly in countries that have got a big Christian population? Because I'm just thinking about, you know, the other day somebody said to me, you know, as a joke, something about Catholic guilt, the phrase Catholic guilt. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, you know, that Catholics are a huge denomination, and so a phrase like Catholic guilt has come to have a meaning that people understand immediately what it is. Yeah, and I'm just wondering if some of your jokes might be, you know, generically kind of maybe mocking religion or poking fun at religion, because there's so many other forms of Christian related groups that you can kind of hook into some of those jokes.
That is a super difficult question, because I guess all four of us, we have this huge knowledge, and the audience with normal people don't have the same knowledge.
Yes.
And then, like, I tried to do the joke about Smurfs. You have a feed line and a punchline. Feed line is the story that leads up to the joke, pointing it in one direction, and the punchline is, oh, sorry, we go in a total different direction, you know. And what happened is that I noticed the worldly people, they will normally laugh at the feed line because it's so absurd. Absurdity is funny by itself. While the religious people, like you know, cult nerds like us, we will not laugh at the punchline because it's not absurd enough.
Oh, how fascinating.
So your feed-in lines, they have to be educational. You have to take your audience along with you and explain a doctrine.
Yeah.
In an interesting manner to arouse the interest, so that they actually get the punchline as well, I guess.
Yeah, so that's complicated. And also, you can't just talk about religion. There's a rule of three in comedy. You see it all the time, but it's also about, you know, there was a rabbi, a priest, and a Jehovah Witness walking the bar. That's the easiest rule of three. But it's also like you should never joke about the same subject for 3 minutes or 3 times. So you have to move on. So you can't just be, okay, so let's start with Genesis and then joke all your way to Revelation. You can't do that. So I'm talking about, I have ADHD. I'm a Swedish national in Norway. My wife is Polish. I have a baby. My wife have ADD. I have goats, you know, I'm a window cleaner. I have to joke about everything.
Yes.
So it's not like I have this huge doctrine. I go through the Jehovah doctrine and prove them wrong while being funny. That's,
right.
I wish I could do that, but that would be, you would be some kind of Shakespearean guy practicing 20 years to do that. But I don't have to prove them wrong. That's one of the good things about leaving a cult. I don't have to prove them wrong because, in effect, you know, it's nothing. We call it an air palace in Scandinavian. Like
Yes.
if you're a member of a cult, you think like, oh, this is very serious, and then you have the priest and the high priest and the leader and the rules but it doesn't really exist. It's an air palace. It's a palace when you believe in it, but if you don't believe in it, it's just air. It doesn't exist.
Yes.
So I don't really have to prove the Jehovah Witnesses wrong or any religion wrong, but I have the right to poke fun at them or anyone else. But it's a matter of good taste to make fun of yourself from a stage.
Yes.
Catholics,
so do you,
like you asked, they would be a minority in Norway. They would be an immigrant minority, so it's kind of bad taste. I look like the majority of Norway because it's the same tribe, even though I'm an immigrant myself. It's just good taste to make fun of yourself. I would not make fun of the Amish too much because it's just it's not good taste. It's better taste to make fun of yourself first and foremost, and then maybe you can make fun of the Pope. He's a man of power. You can always kick upwards.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Someone was saying to me yesterday about how you can punch up, but you can't punch down.
But it's not necessarily good taste.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So do you have your own classic cult following? Like you've got a YouTube channel, and it sounds like you've been to London and done a comedy show. I understand you're coming to New Zealand. You have one here. Do you have like this cult following?
I do have my YouTube channel for ex-Jehovah Witness humor. That's not necessarily funny for people on the outside. But there's a lot of worldly people that watch it because normally they have some kind of interest of Jehovah Witnesses. A lot of women that have a man that needs therapy and they don't know why, and then they realize that his family is very special, are Jehovah Witnesses, so she started watching my channel to try to understand her husband. That's quite common, but otherwise it's just ex-Jehovah Witnesses watching it.
It makes sense that you've got a channel for some of that humor. Like I'm just thinking about I think there would be a following among ex-brethren for somebody doing a similar thing there, because there are definitely just some of those insider jokes, right, that are very unique to that particular group and that can use the language, the specific kind of phrases and that we had. I can imagine that would be really, people would love that and find it really helpful.
What's the name of that channel?
Goat-like personality.
Okay, we'll have to share that one.
You know what goat-like personality means? Does it mean anything in your cults?
No.
No.
So there's a place where
the sheep and the goats. The sheep and the goats.
Separate the sheep and the goats.
Yes, of course.
And the goats go to Jesus' left side, which is fun because Jesus is going to sit by God's right side. So that means the goats will be between Jesus and God. But in that parable, he says the goats go to destruction. And so Jehovah Witnesses believe that we are helping God by going from door to door, and those that become Jehovah Witnesses are sheep-like ones, but the evil people like you, for instance, have goat-like personalities.
Yes. Okay.
So you go to destruction because you're not goats in a literal way, but you have a goat-like personality.
And you're also a goat farmer, so that's convenient.
So it's the perfect name. Jehovah Witnesses laugh at ex-Jehovah Witnesses laugh at the name of my channel. So that's what, like you said, it's an inside joke. But like the explanation I did now is not funny. I cannot do it from stage. So it is a challenge to make humor for both people. But what I do is that I make the humor for the worldly people. And then it's a double meaning that they don't understand, but we would understand, at least ex-Jehovah Witnesses. So they laugh because it's funny, and we laugh because it's funny in a double meaning.
Oh my goodness, that's...
So, what have your goats taught you about freedom? Have they taught you anything?
Oh, they taught me a lot. So the Jehovah Witness shunning, it can be brutal, like you smoke a cigarette, get out of here. But, I knew all the rules. I was trying to fly under the radar, but it didn't really work because they do this soft shunning before, like you're not invited to parties. They would come and say like, oh, on Saturdays, Jehovah Witnesses would come visiting me and say, "Ah, we've come to visit you. I thought we could do Watchtower study together. And then after Watchtower study, we'll all go out fishing, the whole congregation, and everyone that go to Watchtower study can go out fishing." And I'm like, "Okay, I know what you're doing. I like to go fishing, but I don't want to go to the Watchtower study." So then I was not invited to any parties or anything. So I was very isolated, and I started having goats, and my goats were my only friends.
Oh.
And when you experience the severe trauma of that kind of abandonment, something happens in your head, and it's that you will start self-sabotaging because friendships are dangerous, or you get extremely needy or extremely controlling. And I thought, I'm lucky I'm not doing anything of that. And then at one point I had this very vivid dream, and I dreamt the word family, and I just saw people that leave me. And then I saw the word friend, and I saw people that leave me. And then I remember thinking, well, I don't need friends because friends always want to kill you. And then I thought, my only friends are the goats. They're better. And then I saw the goats, and they were in this little pen with 2-meter fences around. And I realized my only friends are goats because I can control them. At that point, I had no human friends. My friends were goats because I can control you. If you don't like me, I will literally kill you
and eat you.
that was that. So when I started goat farming, it was very much some kind of therapy that I needed. I need some friends, but I was nice to them, just so that is said. But obviously my own journey, I just had this relationship with the goats that were, you're my only friends because I can control you and you can't leave me. Wasn't a fun realization to do, but I'm glad I had that dream, because it just taught me, okay, this was a stepping stone. But
we can expect you in New Zealand at some point soon, Jonas. So I'd love for you to tell us about your visit to New Zealand. And I know you're not just coming to do comedy here. You've got another really important reason to come to New Zealand. So could we move into talking about that now?
Yeah, because I started talking about human rights, because when people talk about religion, a lot of people have this naive idea that if you're religious means you can do whatever you want because freedom of religion. That's not what it means. People take it very far now and believe that you can beat children because you think it's the right thing to do. So I started saying that all religions must respect human rights. Because in most countries, you get some kind of government funding or tax relief if you're a religion. That means that there has to be something that dictates what constitutes a religion. If McDonald's would call their restaurants for the Church of the Holy Cow, and therefore they don't have to pay taxes, they don't have to abide by law to protect health and safety, No, because we're a religion and we believe that bacteria is good for the meat, That's not how it should work. There must be something that defines what is a religion. And I say all religions must respect human rights. If you don't respect human rights, you're not a religion. Then you're just an opinionated group of people. And we actually managed to do that in Norway. So now the Norwegian legislation says that all religions must respect human rights. So as of today, Jehovah Witnesses are not registered legally as a religion.
Wow.
They have every right. They go from door to door to do their preaching, their printer propaganda. They have their own property, Kingdom Hall, we call them, they own their churches. They do everything like they've always done. But they lost the status of religion, which means they also lose like 1.5 million euro government funding, directly.
So charitable status.
If I can't give money to Al Qaeda, how can the Norwegian government give money to Jehovah Witnesses? You have to have due diligence that they don't violate human rights, because if I give money to Al Qaeda and they commit a crime, I will be co-conspiracy. Sorry, I don't know the English word. So if I would be the king of New Zealand and I just give out money to religions and don't know what they're doing, like I heard rumors that Gloria Vale is kind of like a slave camp. If I support, I don't know if that's true or not, but if that would be the case and I support them, then I am responsible.
I agree. And people,
Yeah.
leavers from Gloriavale, have tried for 10 years to remove Gloriavale's charitable status. But maybe, Jonas, just about the time that your episode is aired on New Zealand radio, it could be the same week that Gloriavale potentially hears that they're actually going to have their charitable status removed and stripped from them after many years of investigating. So I know in Norway, the JWs were not very happy with having their charitable status removed. And so they are appealing the decision. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
The thing is, I've been talking about this. This is the political thing I do. So I've been talking about them, and what politicians always said to me, first they said, oh, freedom of religion. And I explained the first step now, that if you just give money to someone, you have to know what they're going to use the money for. Unless you're buying something, then you're free, because then your focus is on that. But if I give money to Al-Qaeda, I should kind of know what they're going to use the money for. I am literally supporting them to do something in the future. But then the politicians would be like, well, how can we prove it? And this is the even more important thing. If I am buying a car from you, how can I prove that the engine is not working? Well, it's the opposite. I'm the one with money, and you're the one that's obligated to prove that it's working. So who should get the benefit of the doubt? If the Norwegian government want to keep 1.5 million, or Jehovah Witnesses want that million, who should get the benefit of the doubt? It's the children. It's the third party. I think if we give money or tax charity status to Gloriavale should prove beyond any doubt that they are not hurting children. Because the children is the one that should get the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. So with those two steps, I can put politicians and lawmakers in checkmate, because if you have, as a nation of New Zealand, has promised that we will abide by the human rights, you cannot just hand out money to, for instance, Jehovah Witnesses and say, we didn't know what was happening, and we think the cult leaders of a billionaire organization should get the benefit of the doubts when we give them cash. No, it's the children should have the benefit of the doubts. So that's the second thing I want to get done in Norway, is that when an organization asks for funds, there should be some kind of internal review of our things. So we will have a protest in Auckland the 10th of January outside the Jehovah Witness Convention. And this is a peaceful protest. I'm famous for that. I put up big signs that says there's support if you want to leave, because if they want to stay, they should. And then there's signs that children have the right to do their own research. That's a human right that children have. And we're growing up in a cult, we're very much denied that right to do our own research.
Can you tell us about conventions for our listeners who don't know what a Jehovah Witness convention is? Can you share that?
Oh, we call it the mating season. That's where you find a nice sister. Jehovah Witness conventions, the big ones in the summer, it's normally 3 days. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you dress up, and women are, according to the Watchtower literature, which is what you follow, it was create the culture. It says that sisters are not supposed to dress too revealing. That's the actual word they used for decades, not dress too revealing, which tell you that revealing is okay. So not too revealing, because it makes the cult looks good with like thousands of pretty women walking around, and well-dressed men. So there's like 10,000, 20,000 gorgeous looking people from all ages, of course. And then you go, and then you mingle first, and then you go in like a school session for brainwashing. And then there's a mingle session again, and then there's 2 or 3 hours brainwashing again. So it's like a conference but with a lot of
Yes.
mingling, and all the guys are walking around looking as tall as they can, and then you flirt with the women. And if I would flirt with you, I would ask you, what are your spiritual goals?
That's the pickup line.
Yeah, that you ask what's your spiritual goals, and then you say, if you say, oh, I'd like pioneer is when you're a full-time preacher. You're supposed to do that when you're young, or you're supposed to do it all the time, but especially when you're young. So then if you would say, oh, I would like to pioneer and see what happens, that means let's get married and maybe have babies. Let's see what happens. So move where the need is greater, that means you would like to move away from your parents. Or if you say, I like to be a missionary, then you have to find a husband, but then you have to find a husband that's an elder, as a higher status. So that would not be me.
Okay.
We have our own way of flirting. But my favorite is one when they say, I like to be a pioneer and see what happens.
So New Zealand, does New Zealand have one convention, or are these international conventions? Are we mingling our people with Australia, or is it just regional?
No, it's a great international mingle. So there will be, I don't know how many, 20, 30,000 there or something. How much do the Eden Park take?
Yeah, it's big. It's huge.
So it's literally,
so it's supposed to be
people from around the world will come to New Zealand to go to this convention.
Yeah, it's a funny crowd because one of their things they do, it's an international brotherhood. And if you have an international brotherhood, you have to show it off. Otherwise, people will not know and they will not join. So it's tradition that the people that come from other countries dress up in their national costumes. And this has been, over the years, being more and more of a show off. So I was in an international convention. We're protesting outside in Melbourne, outside the convention. And there was a lot of American candidates. So think about American delegates for there. And a lot of them would actually, and they were white, but they were dressed up as Native Americans. Like they went all Pocahontas with a feather and everything.
Oh, fascinating. Do they look like a white middle class conference? Would that be?
Yeah, most of them look like a white middle class conference. It's just people, women in, marriageable age, they dress like it would be a club. I remember when I've been to protest, I was in a protest in Copenhagen, and I had some friends that never been Jehovah Witnesses. And when we came closer to the arena, I pointed at some people and said, oh, they are witnesses. And the worldly people looked at them and say, no, they are not Jehovah Witnesses. Christians would never dress like that.
Interesting.
Because they dress like they were, the women kind of dress like they would be clubbing.
Yes.
Interesting.
Like not too revealing, but they dress nice, the young ones. And then you see families, they're having fun. I'm happy for them. Sometimes you see a mother that put a lot. This is like the one time a year, like our Christmas, you celebrate and you meet your family, because all of my family are Jehovah Witnesses. So I would meet them at the convention. I would meet all my friends. So sometimes you see a nice mother with a husband and 3 kids, and she made clothes for all of them, and they are matching and they look really nice together. And that's her big dream. Be working. So they're having fun. I'm happy for them when they're having fun. But sometimes you see a whole family look like what you call Sound of Music, when they're dressed in the drapes.
And Gloria Vale only had blue drapes, obviously, because their dresses were all blue, and you weren't allowed to be vain in Gloria Vale. The leader would not allow any deviation from the uniform code. In fact, he oversaw a knitting stitches book. He sat over a woman while she typed out all the stitches of knitting that you were allowed. You weren't allowed to have collars that were half-inch out from the shoulder. And one of the pages was Hopeful's cardigan, it was called. And you were allowed to have Hopeful's the cable stitch if you wanted to knit that one. That was approved, of course.
Goodness.
If you think about it, a lot of people say, like Amish, when you talk about Jehovah Witnesses, people often switch the topic to Amish, so they're easier to say something nice. So they say, oh, I've seen the Amish, they always look so nice and everything. But if you think about it, those uniforms and those rules of conduct, it's a person. Like I bought this hat here. It's a Jewish hat. If you grow up in a Jewish community, you cannot wear a lumberjack shirt and this hat, No. It's the full it's the rule or nothing. There's no Gloria Veil costume with a zinger, you know. It's a way. It's a visible prison, and people will treat you differently if you're wearing this hat in New York. And well, I would get a beating from a Jewish community if I was wearing it. It's mine. I bought it on a flea market. But it's obviously a way of uniforming people to subdue them. But would it be possible for me to get one of those Gloria Veil costumes? That sounds like fun. I could wear it in Norway.
I do have a collection of them. There are different people that have stayed at our house over the years who had left Gloria Vale, and they tried to like throw out their dresses and put all their clothes in the bin before they leave our house. So I remember one year going, do you mind if I just take those out of the rubbish? I promise I won't sell them on like our Trade Me or our marketplace. I won't dress up in them like at costumes or events, but I just wouldn't mind having some. Maybe if we're running an event, we can use it as a prop. And so I have managed to gather quite a stash of legitimate Gloria Vale costumes. And when the production company for Escaping Utopia was in production a couple of years ago, they needed some costumes to recreate a whole lot new ones for their actors. They had some stage scenes, and they also had live people who'd left Gloria Vale, but they recreated scenes, and they recreated an entire wardrobe down to like the exact same fabric and the exact scallop white on the collar, and it was magnificent. Incredible work.
I would like to borrow one of them for either on stage or at the protest. If there's anyone watching this that care about children's rights and
I will help you. I will get you a Gloria Vale dress for the protest. Yeah. In fact, we've run a protest ourselves before a few years ago outside a parliamentary debate. It was coming up time to our election. And we actually went up and staged a protest, and former members came. And out of the blue, like they were like putting on their old blue dresses and standing on podiums with microphones to speak to the crowds outside. It was one of the greatest days. It often makes the news, and you'll see us holding up signs. And often a lot of the news articles around Gloria Vale shows this protest. So tell us more about the protest as we lead into the wrap up.
It's the weekend, so it would be 10th and 11th.
10th and 11th.
And then we will also have stand-up shows that normal people would enjoy. So it's nothing weird. It's just we put up a group of comedians that have the good comedians, professionals only, but that all are former cult members. And we try to find as many ex-Jehovah Witnesses as possible, because it's kind of therapeutic. If you go to an AA meeting, you can listen to the other people telling their story, and there's a sense of community. But in an AA meeting, it's kind of depressing, obviously, and it drags you down. It also steals some of your energy. But imagine if all of them would be comedians, and it lifts you up, and you actually can bring your husband and your spouse and your kids and your mother-in-law and say, okay, now you can get a funny insight in how it used to be. So what I'm trying to do is imagine an AA meeting with the same benefits for you of community, but it's funny, and you can bring your kids.
Wow.
That is kind of the product I'm trying to make. So it's not like I'm some kind of comedic genius. I'm good, but it's not like I can decipher all cults and give you the answer to mankind's big questions in 45 minutes while being funny, because that's not my job. But I think it's some of the things we do are funny. If I could borrow a Gloria Vale costume, or people that had been in Gloria Vale and still have those dresses would come to the protest, that makes us get more media attention, that can change legislation. Because when we make sure that all charities in New Zealand either start to respect human rights, or go the other way and not get government funding, you get a split. Half of them will do better, like Jehovah Witnesses. I knew if they would win in Norway with the current case, we can just take them to court again, because there are other things they violate. And the most obvious one would be that they prohibit children from an education.
Yes.
So I thought even if they win, they're going to lose. But what happened is that Watchtower thought the same, and they made the rules softer.
Yeah.
So it actually has an effect. I believe in democracy. So if someone else believes in democracy, that we can change things for the better, I really hope to meet you and shake your hand in Auckland, because I'm going all the way from Norway, and I'm doing it out of love for the children that grow up in a cult. And that's what I learned from leaving a cult. Love is better than anything. You don't need the doctrines and the explanation what will happen in the left side of space compared to the right side of space when we go to heaven, and how many strings will there be on your harp. All we need is love. And
Wow,
good
what an
to
interesting
others.
trip you're going to have. So basically, we're putting out a broadcast, an invitation for people to come and make a stand against cults here in New Zealand. And you've come all the way from Norway.
I use the hashtag all religions must. All religions must respect human rights. And it's easy. It's an easy sell. When I meet politicians, I can explain to them that they must respect human rights and make sure the people that they give money must respect human rights. And the same with the cult members. I say, I'm not here to protest against the Jehovah Witnesses, because you are human, and I'm protesting pro human rights. And that includes your right of being Jehovah Witnesses.
Yeah.
So I say, I can't remove the cult, but I can improve the cult.
Yeah.
Because the leaders are very fond of money. And if you don't respect human rights, then why should what you refer to Satan's system give you cash? If you can't respect human rights. And actually, when I talk to Jehovah Witnesses, which to begin with are not even allowed to talk to me, but I can be quite charming. They also agree that this guy that's protesting outside is not our enemy, because they see the signs are just full of love. Most of them have not even statements. It's just a European Convention of Human Rights, hashtag all religions must, or the UN Convention of the Right of a Child, hashtag all religions must. So we're not there to try to prove their doctrine wrong. I don't need to. It is wrong. I also don't need to prove obvious things. The sun is hot. It's not my job. Some things are just the way they are. Jehovah Witnesses are wrong, as are all other religions. But what I care about is the human rights of children. And Jehovah Witnesses in Sweden now also lost their government funding. And what I think will happen is that the Jehovah Witnesses will go the path of trying to be a little bit nicer. So it actually has an effect. We can improve the cult while keeping, because I'm a patriot also, I want my country to be a country that is the golden standard of human rights. And they are currently doing something wrong, just handing out money. And the same, if I would be a New Zealander patriot, I would like my country to be the golden standard of human rights. And currently,
apparently we are the bastion, but I don't believe it, not with Glorabelle still sitting in our midst, which probably brings us to actually the end of our time that we have here. So I guess there are a few things that we could point out for our audience. One would be that you've got the protests coming up and you're inviting people to attend, that you've got some comedy shows coming up in New Zealand while you're here. Where can our listeners find information about your show?
I have a web page we will update, and you can leave your email for a newsletter there. It's called doomsdaycomedy.com. So we will not spam you, but if you leave your email, you will find it. My web page, my YouTube is goat-like personality, and everything connected to the protest I will put on there. I haven't made so many videos lately because I work a lot with the stand-up. It's a lot of work to write material and arrange dots and commas to make it funny. But also I have a little baby, and she's not a time saver. It takes a lot of time.
And will your baby be joining you in New Zealand?
No, I will go to New Zealand all alone. I have a very nice wife, and she says she said, there's a lot of things I cannot do, but a lot of things I think you cannot do, but stand-up is not one of them. So it's a little bit passive-aggressive, but she's very supportive with me finding this different way of supporting the family doing comedy, because I'm good at it, but it also brings me joy. And the fact that we can take our crappy situation we grew up in and make sure it doesn't happen to the next generation. That's a beautiful gift from us to democracy. I love that
Yes.
idea that we can take the trauma into something nice. I know what you have been doing, not in detail, but I respect you so much for it. I'll take my hat off for you,
Oh,
ladies.
thank you. Thank you. Well, it's been so great having you here, Jonas, and I hope that sharing this interview with our audience will encourage some of them to meet you, if not in person, then in the audience when you're performing. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. And see you in New Zealand.
Mm,
Oh,
mm.
that would be great. Well, we just want to thank our listeners at Plains Media and the people who follow us on YouTube and Spotify for joining us for this fascinating conversation with Jonas. And I'm just sure some of you are going to be joining his channel very soon after this airs. Look, make sure you tell your friends about our show. Cult Chat is proud to be across the airwaves of New Zealand. And we will see you again another day with, I'm sure, another very interesting guest. It might be hard to beat you though, Jonas. So thank you for your late night or early morning in Norway and our late night here. Yeah. And I see you've got a torch on your head. Is that just to help you see when it's 23 hours of darkness where you live? Or
yeah, we have darkness in Norway, so it's really handy just to have a little light. I don't know what do you call it? A torch?
A torch. Well, thank you for shining your light. Your cult light, anti-cult light in New Zealand. Thanks, Jonas.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So see you in Auckland.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
If anything in today's episode was difficult or upsetting for you and you would like to talk to somebody, we encourage our New Zealand listeners to free call or text 1737 for support from a trained counsellor. Or you might like to visit the resources section of the Olive Leaf Network website, where you can find a range of organisations and resources that might be able to support you. We would also like to remind you that the views and thoughts and opinions that have been expressed in this program are the speakers alone, and Cult Chat does not necessarily endorse or share them.